Hi, everybody. Good evening. My name is Kaneki. I come in the name of the Lord. Greetings to everybody who is directed to the page through Global Witness. Welcome. I hope that you have found the videos full of life, energy, knowledge, inspiration, truth, wisdom, discernment, all that is good, all that is perfect, all that is just able to feed you if there was more strengthening that you needed, but you weren't getting it in the old culture. And so, in this video, what I wanted to do is share with you this new, very powerful revelation. I was outside looking at the stars and just contemplating on just how awe and majestic and just just in love uh, this everlasting awe and everlasting majesty and everlasting love that is so too big for even imagination to comprehend. And as I was there, just in stillness, beautiful night outside, the stars are out, Orion's right overhead, clear night, very still. And it came to me about um, the concepts of man, the law that we abide by, through the concepts of the word of truth written down in the Bible, the bibliography put together by man who were led by the Holy Spirit. And of course, the hand of God is with the word of truth. But even without this right here, the word of truth remains instilled, inscribed on our hearts and our minds in a nature that is cultivated unto each and every person. And in this, it was about thou shalt not judge, yeah? And in the past videos, during certain periods of lots of interchanging of when, corporealities were alignments were being done, the cosmic clocks were in a certain order that you could and was able to prove and improve yourself, have their fruit, if they were coming down. Like, there was talk everywhere, people's minds were on it, yeah? And I would make videos about thou shalt not judge and ways that you could alleviate yourself from being pressured during that whole time to not shirk on your responsibilities, to keeping yourself in as much of the likeness as you possibly can, yeah? So you can present yourself pleasing to God when and if he came in your season, during that season, in a season. And some of them were like, by your words you will be judged, yeah? So if anyone is condemning you, what you just say is, by your words you will be judged, and by the measure you use those words, it will be measured back onto you. So by what you just told me, what would be your judgment, and what would be the degree of that measure? You need to answer that. I leave you in the hands of the Lord. And then you wash your hands and you leave. And then the second one was about if someone's retaliating or trying to cause you to fall off that path just by breaking that rule of judging, condemning, even if you have a right to, that you always think of love, yeah? And you have to look at them in a different lens and just turn and say, bless you, I love you. And that's all. You don't even have to go into any type of conversation, yeah? Save yourselves. And in that, even how you use those things, turn it back. The eye is always turned on you. You are focusing on yourself, yeah? If by the words that you use is your judgment, yeah? By how you said it to them, You're asking yourself pretty much, what I just told you is my judgment. And by the degree I told you that, what would that judgment be? I leave you in the hands of the Lord, and you take your peace. So you left yourself in the hands of the Lord. You didn't judge. You gave them the whatever they were saying. You placed it back on them to examine the plank in their eye before they go and try to help you with the dust in yours, if that is their intention to do it, right? Well, in this one, I was thinking how the do not judge is of the old covenant, and the old covenant has become obsolete. We are now living in the times of the new covenant, and it should be now perpetuated that it is by that new covenant that salvation can be redeemed for what you would be known as the Gentiles. And a Gentile is anybody who is not of the God, the chosen people of God, of the Old Testament, yeah. And I was thinking, and what revealed to me is when you are correctly living to the precepts and justified correctly and based on faith, perpetuated in righteousness, enforced in wisdom by the basic precepts of the word of truth through the testimony of Jesus Christ, which will give you this, which is the spirit of prophecy, but grants you the spirit of truth, so that you can live in truth, breathe in truth, walk in truth until your brain is renewed. Yeah. The one thing that it says in here is that the renewing of your mind, and that's what we're all about right now, the mindfulness, the soundness of mind, yeah? Because the Holy Spirit, which you are building, is a spirit of love, power, and a sound mind. We do not know how to handle power yet. That's why we have limits and we have rules to everything, both virtues and what we consider here, like sinful decisions, the world, yeah, the world concepts and desires. So power, that's still being learned, and love, of course, it holds everything together. Yeah, so it will always be something that is learned, enforced in all different ways unto each person. Yeah, but the soundness of mind, that comes very personal. Yeah, controlling your thoughts, thinking before you speak, learning how to discern, how to speak, how to see what you're hearing, how to see what is being said to you, not just hearing, but comprehending and discerning through that. Yeah, and in that discernment, there's a judgment, but you don't pass judgment. Yeah, you land on righteousness. You still land on the correct concept of not judging, yeah? So that you can be withheld from discrimination and not shirk on that command. When you do that correctly enough times in repetition, through that discipline, endure, persevere, you're blessed to be called a child of God. Everything that is promised in the covenants, in the Bible, in the word of truth that we know now here during this time is in truth, and it will not change. Those things will not change at all. Yeah, those are the very word of God. That is the word of truth. That is what the Holy Spirit knows already by its nature, and that's what the likeness will develop until it founds and perpetuates and cannot be moved, not because of what you have done, but because you have made yourself in such a likeness that love itself adored you. It was pleased with you because you were fragrant with sincerities in obedience. You weren't the world. You didn't stink of the world. You smelled of heaven, of heavenly, of that grace, of that power that Jesus Christ and his spirit, the Christ spirit, did, and it pleased God. Do not arouse or awaken love until it so desires. And in that likeness, you become desiring for love. Love wants to adore you. And in that, what you have planted and based your faith in, yeah, that humility, that grounding of humility, that grounding of understanding, that faith, the enforcement of the wisdoms on how to do it correctly, in that humble heart and lightness of the burden of living to percepts that are outside of the world, love gets aroused, it awakens, and that's when it gets you, and it accepts your root, it grabs your root in it. So you planted deep into the rock of your salvation. The rock of your salvation like perpetuates your root, petrifies it. Your roots are no longer of the earth. It is of the solid rock itself. You cannot be moved because it wants you. Do you see how that works? In that, is it even a root? You know what I mean? Is it even a tree? Is it even a plant? Using that metaphor, it's not, right? It's something completely different. With the renewing of your mind, it says you become a new creation. Yeah? So, in this sense, listen to what I'm saying about the law of the Old Covenant concerning man, and how this new law doesn't make man. It transforms man into a new creation. Is a new creation man? It's not, right? It's a new creation, and it's not called man. And if it's not called man, then the laws of the old covenant no longer adjudicate to the new creation. Why? Because it's written on their hearts and minds. And so, because they have the maturity just by basic principles of its nature, the more mature aspects of what the laws was preventing us from doing in all the creation of God, every single thing, it has now the maturities in its nature to handle it. It's like turning 18 and you finally are able to drive or something like that. Yeah. You're finally able to you hit that level where you can do things that people who haven't hit that level cannot do because they're too immature. They don't know how to handle it. What will happen is that it will destroy them, because any amount of power granted to any man who doesn't have a maturity to handle that power, it controls him, and power will kill you. Yeah, power will kill you. That's why people who get a lot of money, it's easier for a camel to go to the eye of the needle than a rich man to enter the kingdom of God. And no matter how much money you have, there's something to do with that money equaling power here in the world that will corrupt anybody if they are not enforced with wisdom. Wisdom will keep the life of he who possesses the wealth. Yeah? If without the wisdom, that wealth will possess you. And so in that, thou shalt not judge. Do you see how the kingdom of heaven is about power? And once you become the new creation, there's the imputance of righteousness, like how I said, which means it's almost like a retardation of iniquity. It's whatever works you do is not held against you anymore, because you've already proven that you can handle it on your own disciplines. And so you don't need to be disciplined anymore on it. So if you do it, there is a reason, and that reason is righteous. Yeah, it's in righteousness. Because your faith is sound, nothing can move it. Because you've been petrified in the rock of your salvation. Nothing can move you. If God wants you, he wants you. What can stand against that? Nothing. Nothing at all, right? And so in that, it is the matter of glory to God to conceal it, yeah? The matters are concealed when God is in the concealment, the mystery of it all. But it is to the glory of kings to seek it out. Yeah? And with the kings, realize that right there is a division, not a divide, a division of the power of the kingdom of heaven within each person. The king has the crown of righteousness. Yeah? That means the thinking, the mindfulness right there has been justified correctly, and you have been granted the responsibility. You have been obligated the responsibilities that not that go with adults, kind of like that, right? So no longer are you part of the old covenant. Does that make sense? That's why it's obsolete. That's why you cannot put your trust in that. If you go backwards, you are still maintaining yourself. You're wasting time pretty much, and you're maintaining yourself in something that can no longer adjudicate because you're old enough, you're wizened enough, you have enough likeness in you. Yeah, you have sacrificed enough, so you promoted love. Love rejoices with love. You have walked in truth. It rejoices with the truth. Yeah, and love finds love. It's law of magnetism. And in that whole sense, with the sacrificing, yeah, the disciplines you have to go through, which is hard, you have to endure, and then you have to learn how to compound the fruits of the Spirit that you learn. So the fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, self-control. Against such things there is no law. When you get close to that maturity, that justification, you have to start compounding it. So you have to add patience to your endurance, and then think about and conceptualize in the workings of that newness of mind. What is a patient endurance? What is a graceful humility? What is a loving kindness? Think about it. And then triple compound them. What is a patient, enduring, loving kindness? That's a quadruple. Think about what a patient, loving, enduring kindness is. And then once you got that conceptualized, go and practice it. Yeah? In your walk, push yourself to that faith capacity so that you hit that justified capacity in that likeness. Then you will arouse and awaken love by its own desire. And in that, it will be pleased with you, the scent of you, that likeness that it is pleased with, and adore you. And then you're no longer a baby. Your roots, you're not a plant. It's been petrified. Yeah, you cannot be moved because you are wanted. Do you see how that works? And in that, now I bring in this law of karma, this law of magnetism. What's it called? The attraction thing that everyone has been talking about. The secret. I hope that registers a soundbite in people. The secret, right? Law of attraction. That's what it's called. It's pretty much what you give is what you get, and by the measure you give, by that measure you will get. Yeah? That is pretty much, don't judge, because by the words that you use, you will be judged. By the measure that is used, it will be judged back on you, right? That's the same thing, yeah? Now, when it comes to the sacrifice, and you are in humilities, adding contriteness to that humility, so you are able to register that guilt without being found guilty. Does that make sense? It helps to optimize the humility. Yeah, the contrition of humilities, the very foundational thing that you build on. That's the rock of your salvation. That's it. Yeah, it's that humility in all things. Yeah, that comes through sacrifice. Sacrifice is of love. Yeah, when it came to the old covenant and they sacrificed in order for them to stay the wrath of God and get the mercy of God. Yeah, They had to give life. And what you give is what you get. So them giving life, they received life. But by the measure they used, it was measured back on them. And all it was animals. Yeah. These animals, no matter how pure, if it was the first of the flocks or the herds or the best of the birds or the aviaries, any of the best that they had, the prize pedigree, baby animals that have the purest blood, it was still not enough measure for them to be fulfilled out of the law that was preventing death. Yeah? When Jesus Christ came into the world, the most purest and most powerful blood known to man at that time was sacrificed, and that was all the babies. Yeah, Herod went out and killed a bunch of the babies, hoping that he was going to kill what was at that moment gossiped that it was going to be this Messiah that was going to take over and it was going to be the King of Kings. And whether or not it was the Romans who was like, oh, I need to keep my power, or the people feeding into his ear, who was by all means the Jewish temple, right? The Sadducees, Pharisees, the people of that standard, feeding into the ear like, you better do this, or else you're going to lose power. But in actuality, it was because they were going to lose power somehow. They didn't want to lose that concept of what they knew was giving them power, because they didn't want to give up that authority. And that's what made them land on their own righteousness, which counted for nothing. Yeah. That's why God was mad at his own people, his own chosen people, but all in perfect plan. Yeah. There was a reason for that too. So he went and killed all of the newborn babies. And as you know, newborn baby, the blood is as pure as you can get, and the highest form of measure that you could get. And enough of that blood, what happened right after that, right? It brought baby Jesus into the world. So it took life, and then life was given. And that life was the life for all mankind. After that, all man, all the Gentiles, all salvation to everybody. And it wasn't Herod who did that, even though through him that sin had to come through. Because ultimately, everything is in the hand of God. And that is why also, at the end, when Jesus was being trialed before his crucifixion, once again, at life, he was the Roman Herod was there, the Roman Empire, and heads along with the heads of the Jews. When at death, Jesus once again in front of Herod, along with the Jews, all the powerhouses, yeah, life and death, yeah. And in that instance, though, what happened was God's chosen people brought the curse back onto them, cursed their recursive generations, as Herod washed his hands of it and said, it is on you guys. And they agreed. That's how they cursed themselves. But was it really them cursing? No. Everything was in the plan of God. Okay? God made his own people, chosen people, curse themselves. Yeah? As we know, everything went down, and Jesus of Nazareth, the man, the hyper-intelligent, Son of God, who had the Christ spirit and everything in him, wisdom, first time sapiens was registered in man. He could think, he could rational, he was just the most awesome. He's awesome, yeah. Radiance, yeah. The salvation and the guarantee for all mankind. When he died and the temple veil ripped, that right there was signature. Yeah, it was a sign of the new covenant. Man somehow or another, because this is all new to them. This was their revelation. This was their tribulation. Can you imagine that happening? A temple veil ripping from top to bottom, thick. This thing is so thick and heavy. It was hung on poles, okay? Ripping from top to bottom. And the first time, I mean, you can't sew that closed. You can't just like get scotch tape and or anything to put it together. People were looking into the Holy of Holies that was going to the temple. None of this was written down. The apostles didn't even really start going out and preaching. The Holy Spirit hadn't had come yet. Yeah, this was just the new covenant being signed and stamped, delivered. Okay, and that new covenant is the rock, right? And as we know, it says it's a rock that makes men stumble. It is the cornerstone and foundation. However, whoever this stone, this rock, lands on, it smashes, completely smashes. Yeah? And something that's smashed has no power. It is pretty much pounded into the pavement, okay? Which means firmament, which means underfoot. Underfoot. The enemies will be under feet, yeah? The earth is my footstool. The heavens is my throne. The earth, the footstool. The enemies are underfoot, yeah? This rock smashes, but whoever lands on this rock gets shattered. There's a difference between smashed and shattered. Smashed is like dust, the dust of the earth, where man comes from, yeah? Where these living souls were made, but then, where the souls were made, the dust of the earth, God breathes his breath into man and he becomes a living soul, yeah? Shattered is broken pieces, fragments, yeah? It's not dust, which is so particleized that you cannot grab. It's too fine. Yeah, it's more than fine. It's just, there's no definition. That's what it is. Yeah, it's easy to, there's nothing. With a fragment, you can get it and it's a piece of something. Yeah, and ultimately everything was in God's plan, and he is the Alpha and the Omega, which means that if anything comes about that is better, the best thing, he is the end of that. So if you think this is good, he will have to be better. And if you think this is bad, he will have to be worse. Do you see how this works? Everything is landing on God. And he sacrificed himself. As we know, Jesus Christ was sacrificed, the Son of God, who was God. In other words, that's a two-dimension right there. God sacrificed himself. Yeah? So God the Father, who was above in righteousness, shattered onto that rock of the covenant when that veil split. And that shattering was God sacrificing himself, because ultimately everything that happened prior in that Old Testament, all the wars, all those babies' blood that was given, the destruction of the entire flooding of the earth and the saving of Noah and the covenant made after that, then throughout the kings, first kings, second kings, and going through and giving the land to the people, but going in and killing all those people who lived in the land prior, yeah? And then my people for your people, and no man will do this. If any man does this, if any man takes the life of another man, that man needs to give up his life. And Jesus Christ was God in man form. Do you see how this works? God killed himself. He sacrificed himself. That's why the God of the Old Testament, it's obsolete, because he's no longer there. He's not dead, though. Because he sacrificed himself, his son could be resurrected, and the first time the wonderful counselor was therefore made. Our God in the Old Testament was an all-consuming fire. In the New Testament, when finally the wonderful counselor, the Holy Spirit that we are all becoming aware of, came at Pentecost to the disciples, the first fruits, who was the very chosen people of God, still out of the world into the world. We are people for mine. It was God talking to God. Okay, he they were filled with the Holy Spirit and began to speak in tongues. And it says that as of tongues of fire was above their heads. Tongues of fire. And then after that, we have this concept of tongues. As we know, the Holy Spirit is the spirit of truth. Yeah, the New Testament is the testimony of Jesus Christ, which is the spirit of prophecy and truth. Yeah, and then there's the God of love of the Old Testament coming down, shattering himself, yeah, landing on top of the new covenant, because no longer is there a veil between man, because everything was made perfect in the likeness of man, God, and the entirety of the plan since before the beginning. Yeah, in that we had the concept of tongues, but every single person now had a fragment of the all-consuming fire. And that is what there's love covers a multitude of sins, and God is love, this all-consuming fire. He came down and shattered himself. Love broke apart. So it doesn't mean it was dead and it was destroyed. No, it just turned into a trillion all-consuming fires that will fit in everybody else. And what happens is, the reason he had to do that is because in the Old Testament, the Old Covenant that is now obsolete, there was, in other words, favoritism. He had a chosen people, yeah? And God has no discriminations. But when you are an all-consuming fire and God, who's to tell you that what a discrimination is? What we know about discrimination is only to the logical sense of man, who is we're limited in our thinking for our own good. For our own good, yeah? That's why we're given limits and worked on in steps. Because when you are worked on in full capacity, we go crazy. We don't know how to handle power at all. We can't even handle worldly power. Too much money, and even the most holiest person that you know will be corrupted. Yeah, it will overtake you. It's powerful, and it's addicting. Yeah, power. And so, with that, you have to keep in mind. That's why the old covenant was there to prevent death. The new covenant, with everyone having now the fullness potentialized of God to start within you through being a likeness, just that justified capacity, getting out of being a man and then becoming a new creation. So you are outside of the law preventing death and now living in a natural sense to the law that promotes life. And when what you give is what you get. Do you see? And so that's why you have to always remain trying to give life and admonish inspiration and encourage even the most heinous people, and keep your minds on the fact of your emotional concepts and the actions, and remain in truth and obedience to the humble contriteness, to know that we really do not deserve this, yeah? Because you will always be giving life, and that's what you get back. And in the measure you can give it is the measure you receive. Do you see? And that's why even in the most terriblest of situations, it is there for you, because the wicked are a ransom for the righteous, or those trying to walk in righteousness to that likeness standard. And if you can forgive someone who is truly, and by all rights and means, you have every right to condemn them and still be injustice to the mind of man and the mental capacity of how the justice of the weights and measures that man has put in society for civilities, in all rights, you are justified in that, yeah? But you stay your tongue and choose mercy and forgiveness. You just, love covers a multitude of sins, like, and in that measure, no matter, you just gave yourself life in huge measure. That's why they're a ransom. It's a law that demands that you give life. That's why it's the law of love. Sacrifice is about giving, or trying to get love. Yeah, sacrifice equals love. And as we know, sacrifice, no greater love than a man has for his friend, that he laid down his life for his friend. Like, lay down your life, like that's a sacrifice. Yeah, in my mind, I'm like, isn't a greater love is a man who lays down his life for someone who is not a friend but a stranger? Then how, like, but I'm not going against the Bible. What I'm saying is that how would you wrap your mind around that? By making everyone a friend, who, whether stranger or not, whether they are mm, different because of their cultural upbringing, or their mentality is different because they had a different type of community gathering where as little kids they were taught differently, and so like they might not know better, you might not know better, nobody can be uh completely perfect. But when you hit that justified capacity with the renewing of the mind, yes, you can, because you have Christ and everything is possible, but you'll never be pure. But it's all right, because two is enough. It's enough. Just that little bit is enough. Yeah. And God, since the beginning, this is all his plan. He has made it so that there's so many ways that it can be justified. Just this, if you can speak of love, kindness, and show that in action to somebody who maybe has never even witnessed that kind of mercy from somebody all their life, they've only been condemned by people, even when as a little, as a little kid you ask and you keeps getting told no, no, no. If you grow up, like, you're not going to trust anything, so why would bother even ask? Might as well just take it, you know what I mean? So it's like, if you can be the first one to do that, you have just planted something in them, that eureka moment. Yeah, they are not the enemy. There's only one enemy to all of us, no matter what you can think. There are enemies among man versus man, because man can be cruel when power has overtaken them, because we are still immature on how to handle power. But those who are in the positions of power in the world concept is still in the hand of our God. And as hard as it can be, and believe me, I was there at Enron when it was going out in Seattle. Right there, I was so against corporations. I was like, no, blah, blah, blah. They're like huge entities, like they're taking over, all about the slave. I was one of those, yeah. A lot of college kids are like that. And I was very passionate about it. So I know about being rebellious, and feeling that you are standing on what is right and free. Yeah. But these people are in the plan of God and in the perfect place and doing the things that they needed to do, because God needs to put these things in position for something that is too big for us to comprehend, but that must be fulfilled so that it can come about faster. And in the promotion that you are now living to generate a law of giving life instead of being stayed from death, yeah, you are rebelling against the plan of our Father. As hard as that sounds, and I know, I'll tell you this, in my own life, after working in the service industry, only mom and pop restaurants, two corporate restaurants I worked, Denny's and Ruby's, which is a hamburger chain in California. But after that, it was all mom and pop, family owned and operated restaurants. And then I got a job on a cruise ship, which is completely corporate as corporate can be, to the T. It's so corporate. And when people heard this who knew me in the service industry, they're like, you're really going to go work for a corporation? And I was like, yeah, but how do you bring down a monster, you guys? I was like, you don't bring it down by going there with a million people. The tiniest cell inside of a monster can bring it down, and I'm going to be the cancer cell that spreads out. I'm going to go to the heart of it and destroy it from the inside out. I'm going to take it down. Well, it's a contract for 5 months. I came back. I'm like, I love corporations. They're so organized. And I did. They were so organized. I didn't have to think. Like, they had it all thought out for me. And it was beautiful. And it's addicting. It gives you comfortability. And it turns you into a drone. It does. It makes you like, okay, I got to do this. I do this. And you are then patterned into that action. Yeah. That's why after a contract on a cruise ship that is so corporate, and every single day, the repetition to a schedule, every single day. When you are off contract, going back into regular society, you have to learn how to handle yourself in regular society again. That's only 5 months of work. Yeah, that's how easy our brains can be manipulated. And so, in that factoring too, with the manipulation of the brain, I wanted to share. I had some concerns and some reach outs about people who needed advice about the end times. Yeah, and there's a lot of watchmen out there, and with the age of technology, we have brought about what I call the age of omniscience. We are in the age of omniscience. We have information at our fingertips at all times. Yeah. So we are in an age of omniscience, but it's still false because it's outside of ourselves. We have the capability inside of us to be the Google, and it's going to come about. It will come about when it will come about. But in this sense, what I wanted them to realize is when I was on the cruise ship for the first week, yeah, the new people had to go through these rigorous trainings in order to get certain licenses so that they could work at sea. Yeah. And in these licenses was fire control, crowd control, David operations, learning how to work a crew life vessel, CPR, stuff like that. And that whole course usually takes 6 months, and they cram it for us in a week. Yeah. And it is constant, it's drilled in you. Yeah. And you get these certificates. 6 months, 1 week. Think about, like, that is a lot of work, right? Constant, like boom, 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 boom. They teach us that fire is the number one fear at sea. And then they show us a video, yeah? And they show us fire after fire after fire after fire of cruise ships for hours. And then when you leave that room, everybody is in fear of fire. And they think it can happen every corner, right? Every corner. But I was already this is way before all my awakening, but I was already in the plan of God. That's why I'm just like, I can't believe my entire life I've been in the hand of God, in the eye of God, not even knowing, never even praising, not even glorifying him, not even giving him thanks or honor. And yet he was still there for me. And I wasn't in the cognitive dissonance. And I had to, in the class, that group of people that I was with in that class for the cruise ship, I had to remind them that the videos that they showed us was a span of like 200 years that they crammed together in a 2-hour video. So it made it seem like it was this, like every single moment is a fire at sea, but it's not. That's a span of 200 years. Yeah. And I was like, so it doesn't happen all the time. It's just that if you go down, if there's a fire at sea and your ship goes down, like there's nothing you can salvage. You're just floating out there. Yeah. So that's why you've got to prevent that. You'd rather have a flood on your boat than a fire. And that got them out of cognitive dissonance to alleviate that fear. That is the same thing with the end time signs that could help alleviate you. Realize that when people are watching for the end time signs, they condense these videos. And what I have noticed is that a lot of these watchmen channels will get videos from a long time ago, and somehow or another, and I don't know if this is on purpose or an accident, but it doesn't catch the people who are aware of it, so they start thinking that it was that day. They will think that, oh my gosh, like this tsunami just happened today, but it was like 5 years ago. But they don't, the people who make these videos, they don't put that on top of the videos. Yeah. And I'm like, I've seen this video already because of, like I know things and like that. And like there's another watchman station that I was telling him, like, you are being very deceptive, because the title would be like, the trumpets are being blown. And I watch a video, and it's a video that I know was about something else like a long time ago, but it will have a trumpet sound over it. Yeah. And then they condense these all together with this music in the background that it's like, and it gets like climactic. So your insides, your tone, your tempo, your rhythm, your patterns, your brain synapses are going on this high frequency, thinking that these things are happening all over the place and all this stuff. And it's not, it's fake. Yeah. And then when you leave that, you're like, oh my gosh, like, oh, like all this stuff is happening and I wasn't even aware of it. Like, oh, I'm freaking out now. Yeah. That's one thing you have to realize, that it's illusioned. And one thing you can just base yourself on is that Jerusalem is now part of Israel. Yeah, that was a prophecy that's fulfilled, and that was a huge cornerstone to the end times science. If you can just know that, and also, the weather and stuff, but instead of having to keep seeing like, oh, let me watch, just know that you watch, you saw, you have faith in that, and take yourself away from that, and then focus on yourself as you walk. Yeah, find yourself, keep yourself in the now. Thinking of the future will cause you anxiety. Yeah, no one knows what's to come. No one knows what's to come after him, or even after him. Yeah, nobody can plan for tomorrow really with confidence, because we don't even know if tomorrow can come. Who knows when no one can know. The only true power that you have is right now, here, now. If you can get your brain from the time travelers we can be out of the future, with that understanding of that weird illusion that some of these videos can make you feel, yeah, like it's gonna happen because it happens all over and I wasn't even aware. But yeah, no, it was rare, but they did something that made it seem like that. Yeah, and then your new tempo and pattern and visuals and your perceptions are all on that, and it's mixing with your faith and causing you fear and anxiety, and that's not good. Yeah, you'll get problems and confusions and confoundments and get lost. Yeah, it registers a sense of it baffles you. Yeah, it defunks it. It shakes your faith. Yeah, and if you never watched that video, you would be doing what you have been doing. Yeah, and what was that? Yeah, without that anxiety, would you have been living righteously? Yeah, and if you probably wouldn't have, then that right there is something that you have to be aware of, and make that your natural thing to always, the way that you would live in the anxiousness, thinking that God, the rapture, not that rapture, the approval can come anytime. It could be like it could be that time. Yeah. So you muster yourself up and you make sure that you're in the presence and you're starting to get your faith developed and stuff like that. Do that now without that anxiety. Yeah. And that right there will put you in truth. Yeah. You're not acting holy living with an expectation anymore. You're doing it because it's a natural thing that you want to do. You long to do because you want to be pleasing. Yeah? Because you want to give life so that you can get life, because you don't want to die. You don't want to have a law that just prevents you from life, so you have to take life. It doesn't work no more. Yeah? So renew your minds so that you are a new creation. No longer are you from the dust of the earth. You're no longer man. You are a new creation in Jesus Christ. You are the sons of the first fruits, the sons of God, you guys. Wow. It's radical. Every day, I don't know how much more I can fall in awe to this whole thing. It's so much. Anyway, I love you all, and thank you so much for your time, for giving the time to even be on the journey, and base that as a soundness in your mind too. The fact that you have even started is not you. You didn't start. Yeah, you've been called according to his purpose to start, and if he started a work in you, have faith that he will have faith to complete it. He does. He who starts a work in you is faithful to complete it. He's made it so easy too. Even if you have a little bit, even if this a little bit triggers inside of something or another, and it registers at heart, yeah, whether or not you start the next day or years from then, it will still have been growing during that time. No one knows how it grows. It's not while you're sleeping, it's growing, while you're not even thinking about it. Look at my own walk. I only had my awakening, what, 6 months now? 4, 5 or 6 months, sometime like that. The entire time it had been growing in me, and I didn't even know. And how? I don't know. It wasn't like I was feeding myself the word of God. I wasn't going to church. There was nothing like that, but it still grew and it got me now. And if I can do it, you can, because I'm put it this way. I have been blessed to be in the hand of God and this relationship that I know, yeah, that's the truth. But I need him. I need the Father this close to me because I am the weakest out of everyone. I'm like the special needs, you guys. Like, you are blessed in my eyes because you can do things like that. Like, I need him. If not, like, I'm helpless. Yeah. So we're all blessed, but in different ways. And just because I'm here doesn't mean it's, oh, you want to get to where I want. You are capable of better things. Like, I'm like the weak kid who wants to play soccer, but I have polio legs, like that. And I don't mean that as offensive. I'm the special needs one. That's why he has all the attention. I need so much more attention. Like, I'm retarded almost. But anyway, thank you, and peace be with you all. And and if you ever leave a comment, yeah, I wanted to let you know that you can leave whatever you want. Ask me anything, anything. Like, I'm not gonna get offended. Yeah, I have no discriminations. Everything that comes at me, like, I cannot be shamed. Yeah, I'm only in truth. I'm transparent, authentic, and in truth. So, like, you can show me that too. Yeah. The only thing that I request is that if there's something that you might be embarrassed about because it's like personal, you want to ask me, or personal about yourself that you don't want everyone to know, let me know on the comments, and I'll give you my personal link to the instant messenger thing. Yeah. That way we can communicate and it'll be private. Yeah. And then two, if you say something that shakes other people around the forum's faith, and like, say, I don't know, like, it seems like you are coming off as one that is condemning, saying like this is not real or whatever, this is a false, like, I'm gonna save everybody, and the people around who are justifying themselves to promoting life and peace, which is the mind of the Holy Spirit, promoting life and peace, are then telling you like you're wrong and like we're gonna pray for you, but like kind of like judging you, then you are affecting the flock, yeah, and I can't have that. So what I'll do is I will kindly give you my instant messenger and we could talk privately. But the thing is, if you have started on the forum, I'll let everyone else know to add understanding to their patience, to their endurance, and to pray in humility for you, yeah, to not condemn you, to not judge you, to still focus on maintaining their own peace, yeah, because I still want to keep everything on the forum, because it is amazing how the testimonies that I've just been reading, you guys have no idea how amazing this works. What I have been reading, what you guys think that you guys got from me telling you, like you're like, oh wow, I had this problem and I didn't know, but after watching this video I got fed. And when you tell me like, oh, this was your question and this is the answer that you got from it, and I watch it, I'm like, how did you get that answer? And it's like, it's not me, like it's the Lord working in you, and you figured out your own problem. And by reading your comment and the testimony of how you got there, you actually feed me, like you bless me. I'm like, wow, like I've never even, wow, and it's amazing. It works both ways. We are all in the same boat. It's just that I'm on the poop deck, so anyway, have a beautiful evening, and we shall be in touch. And if you have any questions, again, send me a comment, instant messenger, like that. And there's not really any rules on here. I will always maintain my responsibility, and the spirit of wisdom is the one who discerns it when the responsibility of actions like that have to take place. And you'll see it's really cool. That's why I want to keep it on the forum, no matter how it may seem as it going. At the end, it will have solvency and it will have peace. And that journey, no matter how dark it gets, it can be a testimony for other people to read through and see how the Spirit works, because like sometimes I'm so impressed about being aware of my emotions, and what I used to want to lash out and say, it comes out with the thought and just grace and imbued with love, and never ever the tongue is very very uncontrollable, but with the Lord everything's possible. You guys. Anyway, thank you. Hey everybody. I keep okay, it's so funny, I forget that this thing is live, and I started, hi everybody, I'm done with that thing so I can talk story. Hey Tracy and Teodora from Slovenia, Kim, Brittany, and Tommy. Hi everybody. It's so funny. Hi. I see it like a broken windshield or a piece of petrified wood. Like what? What is that? Brittany J. Oh well, you know what? I'll ask her later, because I think this thing pops up, right? But it's like a chat room, camera chat room, so that like we could all be on like chat screens, and so I wouldn't have to like read, and then like we could just talk story. Like that'd be really cool and stuff. I also wanted to let you know that I think Monday, I'm going to be going with Derek, on a podcast to help. Like I'm just what's it called? The Lord has like, so this is the crazy things, you guys. So this last video that Derek has, okay, it was about peace that surpasses all understanding, right? And that morning, without knowing it, like I was just like awake at 4 o'clock in the morning, awakened and just like driven. And when I say driven, I just mean like I can't go back to sleep, and my brain is going, but I'm not really thinking about anything, right? So I'm like outside, just like staring at the stars, and I had my Bible, but my whole thing was like I started singing Christmas songs. Yeah, and I was just like, "Oh, holy night," and like all this Christmas songs, because I don't know, my brain, I was singing Christmas songs all the time, and it was like, "Oh, joy to the world and peace on earth, peace on earth, peace on earth," and I was like, "Peace, peace," and I was like, "Peace," and then reading the Bible, it was all about peace, and then I was like, being driven, then the talk about the peace that surpasses all understanding came about, right? And then I don't know how or another, but I think I saw it on the side, but I didn't read the title of the Global Witness site. Yeah, I just clicked it, and what I do is I don't really listen to what he's saying. It's not like me being rude, like, oh, that's not how my brain works. I read the comments, because I want to help him, because there's a lot of people, yeah, with a lot of questions, and it's easy to miss some questions and whatnot, and I know that I can help like that. I can assist. And so I went down, and everyone was talking about peace, 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 right? And I was like, oh wow, so I was like, that's why I started writing. And then I was like, I'm gonna make these videos. I have these videos that I made, and they're uploading, and it takes a while, but it's about the peace that surpasses understanding. Like, see, like God works. Then I saw the title of his thing after. I was like, oh, peace that surpasses understanding. Like, what the? Oh my gosh, and like that right there, isn't that trippy? Like that's how it works, and that's why, like, it's not Derek being like, oh, go to this site. I was like, it's the hand of the Father. Like, I reached out to him because the zeal was working, and it was all peace, 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 peace. So, so he was. It was today that he was, or yesterday he was saying, Monday, let's get together, just you and I, to talk on the podcast. So I said, yeah. So yeah, it's gonna go down. Because I told him, yeah, if that's the day that the Lord has made, then it will work. And hello, that's the key, right? Because every day is the Lord is a day that the Lord has made. So anytime. I love it. So, oh, the shattering. Yes, yeah. Okay, Brittany J. I see it like a broken windshield or a piece of petrified wood. Yes, yeah. But the broken wind, yeah, it's like shattering glass. Yeah. Love covers a multitude of sin. Yeah. And mercy stays the hand of judgment. Isn't that trippy? And so That's exactly what it is. It's like a shattering windshield, all that glass everywhere, all those little pieces. But those pieces unto themselves can not only fit inside of you, but will grow into another windshield on its own. Do you see how it said, like how it works? That all-consuming fire didn't just become a less all-consuming fire. No, it made itself smaller because it was supposed to always fit inside each of us, where it will grow to the fullness of its capacity, which is everlasting, eternal infinity. Like it will never stop growing, you guys. That gives it. It's a giver of life. So, yes, Brittany J. Sense of love washed over me a moment ago. How did Hemi te moana nui? Hemi te moana nui. Is that Tongan? I love your name. I had a friend. His name was Rafaele Tufaga. He was Tongan, and he was good to have as a friend because he was huge. So like if no one wanted to mess with you. How did that feel, that strong sense of love wash over you? Did it feel like, yeah, it's almost like that eureka moment mixed with like that feeling of like electricity, yeah? It's like, oh, it brings tears to your eyes. It really does. Like, whew, it's New Zealand. Cool. So I'm from Hawaii. New Zealand, Hawaii, Japan, we're brother archipelagos. We all connect underneath the ocean. Isn't that cool? I love it. You guys are known as kiwis. We're known as coconuts. You guys are like the island chain to the Australia. We're the island chain to the mainland United States, like that. So we have a lot in common. I love Lord of the Rings. My favorite. I'm glad that you had that feeling of love. Thank you, Kim Walker. The bright light. It's so okay. That reminds me, Kim Walker and everybody. The children of light. Yeah, I have a video on the thing, and it was about the activation of the light, and it's all goodness, all faithfulness, and all righteousness. Yeah, and those are the fruits of the spirit. That if you can corporalize those and then feed yourselves, you can become you are the children of the light, you guys, and the morning star rises in your hearts from the inside. And then you have this light that I think, okay, I was just talking to, sorry, what's her name? Teodora Christopher, right? She's all the way in Slovenia, that I just learned is in Rome. Yeah, I thought it was part of Russia, but 12 hours away, right? I was just talking to her about the eyeballs of owls and how they can see in the night, right? And how the eye, she taught me, it pinpoints so that it could register light, and that's how we can see things and color, yeah, the light and then the eye and all that stuff. But an owl can see in the dark where we cannot, right? So there's like different types of eyes, so like what is the difference and all that stuff, yeah. And then I was thinking with the light body activation, and sometimes you can see it, but it's not like, oh, I'm so bright. It's like white, like it's whiter, right? But I walk my dogs at night, and the other night I was walking through the street up, it was like 9, 10 o'clock at night. All of a sudden, birds started just chirping all around me. Birds and an owl, like the owl eyes and birds. I don't know. Maybe they have the same eyes. Maybe they could see the light. Like they could see the light that we can't see that has come up or something. You know what I mean? I don't know. This is a trippy thought. Thanks for sharing that and stuff. Good morning, everybody, and stuff. Yeah, Tommy from Moria. Ask everything. You know what? Here, I'm gonna send you. I'm gonna put on here right now, and you can ask here too. Yeah, but let me ask. Put the. I don't know how to get the. I have a link to like a thing. Yeah. So wait, let me focus on this. See, I'm so scatterbrained. Like I want to do this and this and this and this, and the thing is, I'll get to all of it too. But when I focus on one thing, I get there faster. Question. Yes. What is Z? Oh, Hemi. Kaneki, how does one have right thinking? Right thinking. through like maturity. Yeah. Um, it's not. Let me say this. It's not about right thinking. It's about the correct thinking. Yeah, because you can have two rights. Like when you have right thinking, you can have two rights, kind of thing. You can be right to do something and it will be right, or you can choose to be kind. The right thinking that you have, which would be right, could possibly be to condemn someone who was wrong. Yeah, that's still right. Think about it. But is it right? No. The kind is going to be showing that mercy, that bigger thing than right. It's righteous. It's being righteous. It's being righteousness. It's going past right. Yeah. So when you say right thinking, what I want to clarify is that I don't think there's such thing as a right thinking. I think there's such thing as correct thinking. Yeah. Because that correct thinking, that's where there's not going to be a prejudice. There's not going to be a discrimination. When you have right thinking, then you have wrong thinking. It's a fine line. And as we all know, like life itself, especially life trying to live in righteousness in a world that doesn't even know about that, and the common sense, you have turned into the minority. Yeah. It's gray. Yeah. It's going through the disciplines, learning from good role models whose life that they do has produced in their wake of their life, that you have noticed good fruit. Yeah, it has left people in peace. It has inspired people, and when they talk about them, their very name is like refreshing water to that person, saying it. They are only elating that person. There's no condemnation in that person's name. Yeah, so like they're talking good about you. That right there, you might want to watch that type of role modelship, because there has to be something righteous, or correct, I should say, correct in how they have handled the way that they have perceived the gray area. When right thinking, there is the concept, like the easy concepts. Yeah, like right thinking is, this is hot, don't touch it. Yeah, that right there is like more survival, instinctual, just common sense stuff. It will teach your basic way, program yourself, yeah, to not get killed by easy things. Yeah, that's like the survival thing. Then we have the sapience, or the ability to think outside of just the basics of survival. Yeah, and in that is, I think, is where the gray area might come in for a lot of people. Right thinking, because there's no, to me, like there wouldn't be no such thing. The reasoning for that is, like, say in Japan, yeah, the right thinking would be to take off your shoes before you enter your house. Yeah, but in America, the right thinking would be it's okay to leave your shoes on and walk into the house. Yeah, so that right there is a separation of cultures, and in that they have a right thinking, they have a right thinking, but if they look at each other, it's wrong thinking. Do you see what I'm saying? So how can it be right thinking? There's discrimination. Yeah, so you have to think correct thinking, which would be, if you are from America going to Japan, the correct thinking, which would be, I guess, in terms, the right thinking would be to take off your shoes out of respect. Yeah, and for the people in Japan to see someone from America who doesn't take off their shoes, their right thinking or correct thinking would be to not judge that person and say, what are you doing? But to have already the understanding that, oh, this is a foreigner. They don't know better. They are ignorant of the rule. It's show them kindness, yeah? And it works both ways. And that would be what I would say correct thinking. Does that help? And I guess the basics too. The 10 Commandments, yeah? Those are no longer commandments to us because we are mature. We are in the age of omniscience. That was 5,000 years ago to a people who were immature in their minds. They didn't know how to socially adjudicate anything. They didn't know stealing was wrong. They didn't know that they couldn't just kill or take someone else's things and do all that stuff. They didn't understand that. They were mentally immature. And we are mentally immature, but we know more than them because we're 5,000 years closer, yeah? And so right now, the 10 Commandments, which are the basic precepts now of just natural law of civilities, that would be right thinking, just to socially adjudicate yourself so that you're not living as a social pariah and completely everyone's like, oh, you don't follow the basic concepts of that right concept, yeah, in our society. So like whenever you come here, you destroy things, you know. I would say that if you need a standard of right thinking like that, those 10 commandments, try and check those out and know that they're not commands. They should just be a social norm. Yeah, people should just know that without even being taught. Almost like, yeah, you shouldn't kill. As a baby, you should know that. As you grow up from 1 to 4, 5, yeah, when you hit 5 or 6, that no one has to tell you, hey, you shouldn't kill anything. Yeah, don't go out killing other babies. Don't go out killing other people. They already kind of know it from observation, because that is now the social ethos. That would be right, yeah. But then when it comes to life, living within the details, yeah, that gray area, then it would probably turn into correct thinking. When it comes to cultured mindsets in society, then I would say that would be where you have a black and white, yeah, and the gray area would be where the people who know about the black and white, or the people who live in that culture who know about the ethos already, that doesn't have to be taught, will have to bend into the gray area, that the colorblind or those outside of the culture that come in and break that ethos, yeah, they're not enemies, they're just ignorant of that black and white, they cannot see it, yeah. And so that would have to then learn how to be flexible, yeah, so that it can cause solvency and promote peace. Yeah, so like that's what I would say. Whenever there is a standardized structure, like a culture or the 10 commandments like that, there will be where you could register a black and white, which would be right thinking, yeah, because it's standardized. But throughout that, without different levels, then there will have to be some gray areas, and then understanding about when those gray areas would actually come in, yeah, seasons of change. Yeah, I should have explained myself better. But and then Tommy said, yeah, I should have explained myself better, but I don't want to offend or scare anyone with my experiences. I would like to have a private conversation if you're free or not tired, of course. Yeah, of course. Yeah. What I'll do is after this, I'll send you my the link. I'll put it on top of this feed, and get in touch with me. Of course, always, always, always. Yeah. And then the zeal. Okay. Zeal is energy, okay? But this energy is not going to be of the energy that we know as that can neither be created or destroyed, yeah? We know that about energy here in the universe, yeah? Zeal is of a higher capability, yeah? So think about this. When you have an all-consuming fire, yeah? You have a radiance, yeah? And that radiance is that light going out, but it's not so close to the fire that to get that light you get burned, right? And then you have the radiance, which sheds light in graceful ways, but comes from the fire and is the light, yeah? The zeal is what you can see inside the light. Does that make sense? We are the zeal of God. God is the all-consuming fire. Jesus Christ was the radiance, is the radiance, yeah? He is between the all-consuming fire, the flames, the pure flame, and that where the zeal can be realized. Light, we can only see things, yeah, because light hits it and gives it a structuring. If it wasn't for light, none of this, we wouldn't be able to see even ourselves, yeah? We would just be, would we even be thoughts? You know what I mean? So it's like zeal, man, us, that's what makes us so important to this whole structuring, yeah? The all-consuming fire and the radiance of it can only be realized if it hits something, yeah, something that can reflect it. Or else, if that thing that doesn't reflect it, the light that doesn't hit it so that we can see around, then that all-consuming fire and that radiance never existed. Does that make sense? Hemi, think about this. Okay, the zeal is the energy that comes with the transformation of the like a it is a different type of energy that can handle and withstand the new fire, yeah, the new light, where things that are not of the zeal will perish, yeah. So say the ionosphere is here, yeah, the magnetic or the ozone layer in the ionosphere is here. We're zeal, and say like a plant is not zealed, right? If that atmosphere gets taken away, the atmosphere was a protection from cosmic radiation, yeah. There was only a certain amount that can come through, then that's what we know. If that is taken away, who knows what is going to come through, yeah. And what comes through is going to affect everything that it hits, and what it affects and hits is not going to have a capability of withstanding that, because it has not naturally in its own nature has the capability to withstand. So that plant will wither, but we're the zeal of that. So what will happen is if it hits us, we will be able to survive, but our bodies may change to register that new change type of thing, yeah. So zeal is like a cosmic energy. It's an energy that is bigger than the energy that we know, that is neither created or destroyed. It's outside of that, but it's transformative, and it can change with the correct type of enforcements of what I call virtue, yeah. Virtue is just as real as air. And what you have to do is, once you can realize that, you can develop the organ, which is still invisible, if you may, yeah. But it's an organ that helps to regulate it. And then what happens is that zeal, that different type of energy, that is outside of the universe but is of us, yeah, created of us, will be able to then be strengthened, yeah. And what that does is gives you that new nature. It's transformative energy that can change and transform energy. It is bigger and larger than energy, even though it's forced energy, an energy force, a force of think of it. The lag doesn't help a converse through live stream. I might message it. Yeah, please do. What is this constant feeling of disconnect and numbingness of my emotions? Okay, that right there, Hemi, is that is called being empathetic. Yeah. What happened? And empathetic is different from empathy, and that is root word to empath. Yeah. When you have empathy with someone, you can feel their pains. Yeah. You can feel them in a deeper sense of emotion. When you have been empathetic, that means you have lost source with the head. You have lost, the body is headless, yeah. It's a tire that has a small leak in it, and it's running out of air, yeah. That means that you are going to be confounded, you're going to be confused, yeah. It's this constant disconnected. It's the cons of your life, confused, anything that has a con in it, yeah. And the way that you fix that is you have to battle those cons with re's. Okay, so you have to readjust, you have to reflect, you have to relief, you need to redo it, yeah. You have to reconstruct yourself, because you are like unaligned, yeah. If you lose source with the head, that you will turn that numbness kind of thing. You won't be able to think, yeah, and your empathy will turn empathetic. kind of thing, if that makes sense. I understand them. Do you understood what I said, or you understand you understand your own disconnect and emotion and numbingness of emotions? Ultimately, I want to also add that it helps that part. Don't think of it as like, oh no, I did something wrong. Yeah, it is part of what I would people. Not you understand people. That's good. You can understand people. When it comes to empathy, yeah, walking in someone else's shoes, feeling their pain, even though you're not the one being hurt. What this does, this part of the growing period, but you have to be aware that it's a growing period, so you're not controlled by it and think that you're being destructed and something's wrong with you. Yeah, it helps because think about what full empathy would mean. Yeah, full empathy would mean like if you were to watch a movie like say Rambo or something, yeah, and someone gets shot, you would get shot. Your body, your brain would make your body make yourself a bullet hole. If someone got their arm cut off, your body would make your brain cut its arm off, just like like that. That's the power of full empathy. That's why we don't want full empathy. It's wise to not go extreme of anything. We're not capable of fullness yet. It's not impossible just right now. It's for our own good impossible. Yeah. Um in this sense with that numbing, what it does is help you to control that next justified capacity of feeling for people. But the thing is, do not stay in that numbness. Yeah, this understanding and awareness will get you back to realigning, readjusting, reflecting, so that you can have a different capacity. Yeah, because right now you are constructed in a not a conscience, like a concise method. You are convinced in a confoundment, yeah, and you want to be readjusted, realigned. Like I said, cons need to be battled with re's, and in this being as it is, yeah, with your emotional capacity and understanding people, this feeling and then that numbness, yeah, uh it's about being still, yeah, going back into yourself. I'm not sure if like are you what's it called, like a talkative person, like an outgoing person and like that, or are you more reserved, like how they say a meek person kind of thing? um if you the thing is, go back to meekness. If you can go back to being meek, yeah, what you'll do is you'll be able to redefine by your reflections to readjust, and it will reflect and pretty much retribute, yeah, retribute the confoundment, that numbness, yeah, will give you, it will be relieved. That hole in that tire, yeah, it will be plugged up and you won't lose air. And in that stillness, and as your emotional capacity, this understanding that you're talking about, is causing this weird disconnect, yeah, it will help fill you back up. You'll gain your power back, yeah. That's how you can revitalize yourself, yeah. And it's good because then you will know what it is to. There's some people who, if they don't understand this, they can watch a movie, and I know a lot of people can relate with this, okay, like you watch like a movie, and if something happens, you're like, ooh, and you feel that and you shirk, like you actually, you will grab your arm and be like, oh, that hurt, like, ooh, yeah, if you know what I'm saying. If you know what I'm saying, raise your hands. It's kind of like that. These shifts have me up and down, but I want to feel more. Well, careful what you want, yeah, because if you cannot handle this feeling of up and downs, you might not want to feel more until you can handle this little feeling, yeah. Because if you have more up and down, you might go right side up and discombobulate, kind of thing. Um, think about this, okay? I know what it is you're saying. Like you want more, because that's what you think would help. Yeah, level you out. By the yard, it's hard, but inch by inch, anything is a cinch. Okay. Take it slow. Patience is a virtue, a beautiful virtue that keeps you. It keeps you from neglecting the finer things that you might need to learn at this moment of this weirdness before more can be added. Yeah. Um, get in touch with this little part of you that you're working on, that you have now awareness of. Yeah. That's why it's being brought out. Work on that small little adjustment, and become great in working on that small one. If you can be trusted with a little, he who is trusted in who can be trusted with a little can be trusted with a lot. Is that, yeah? It's for your own benefit in the end. It's not about you being too weak and anything like that. The Father, the way he works, it's not the way that we can think. Yeah. Think about us like teenagers. We're like, oh, why can't we do this? Everyone else is doing it. Yeah. And we think that in common sense, the teenagers hate their parents because they think they're the worst parents and all that stuff. But the parents are doing it because they are doing it for the benefit of their children, and it's called the disciplines. Yeah. And the only reason that a parent would do that is because of a greater love that an immature teenager still has not the capacity to understand, the maturity. Yeah, that's how we are, kind of thing, even including me. It's like that. The way that God disciplines us, even in these small little steps that we may be confused, yeah, a little bit, he is doing that because he is refining you, and it's a choice you have to make. But the thing is, your acknowledgement of it, just asking that question, means that awareness can bring solution. Yeah, all you have to do is reflect on it more. You know yourself. You know enough to know that something went numb. Like, you used to feel something, but it went numb. Yeah, you feel a disconnect from understanding people. Yeah, only you could know that. Now step outside of that. That feeling of that it has control over you, like, oh, this numbness, like, what do I do? Step outside of even that. Know that you are bigger than that. Yeah, and look at the numbness and be like, how come it's numb? Look at this person. If I looked at myself outside of myself, yeah, say like I'm sitting here at my desk and I'm over here actually looking at myself, and in my head I'm numb. I'm like, why is that person numb? And everyone who's walking past would not know that they have a numbness in their brain. But you know, because you are that person. Do you see what I'm saying? If you're able to, if you can think like that, you will be outside of the problem, looking at it from overview. You won't be inside having to look right or left. Yeah? This understanding that you're talking about, you understand them, okay? Understand that. With understanding, it has to go with a scale, yeah? You can only understand something because you were started from here, which is lopsided, and then you went over here, which made you understand more over here, but it's still lopsided. And what you do is you have to keep journeying until you find the center, the stillness. This is the point of grace, yeah? The point of understanding. It's not about here or here. If you can understand them, yeah, then you have reached that capacity where then instead of looking right or left, yeah, this is the awareness. You're not here looking only this way, not here looking only this way. Yeah, you have that awareness. You can be appraised. Yeah, you have a sense of grace, a sense of humility to understand it. Raise yourself up so you are overview. You don't have to turn your head. You can see the whole picture at once. And in that, you are above the problem, and it will help you to realize maybe the perception that you might be missing because you're still stuck here, and haven't been realized that you have the power to lift yourself because you can understand. So it seems like I had more capacity for more 3 years ago. Now I'm starting over. Well, yeah, it's called growing old. Yeah, you lose energy. Your brain's not as spongy. It's a part of life kind of thing too, yeah? So, not to sound terse, that's just really what it is. Say, for instance, when I was young, I could memorize everything, yeah? Now it's like, I can't even memorize what I just read. I can't even memorize your guys' name, and it's right here. I'm just like, oh, what's your name? You know what I mean? So it's like, your brain changes, yeah? and it takes away some stuff and it puts stuff together, but you're still going to be enforced by wisdom. So you don't need that extra thing that you felt a long time ago that you want. It's good to remain in your now. And if you feel that there is a situation where you feel decrepit, decrepitudes, more like the losing of something, then see what else is it that you can gain that is bigger that you might not have. Instead of if you keep yourself in the past like that 3 years ago and you want that, you will only live in regret. If you keep yourself in the future, you will only live in anxiousness. The only power that you have is now, and that is the only power that each and every one of us has, and that now is all equilateral. We all have 24 hours in a day. Keep yourself there, because here, wanting this, you're not going to get it. You want this, you could get it, but if you stay over here, you're not going to get it. You need to keep yourself in the now. That's where your only power is. That's where you can generate your zeal. That's where you can generate the only awareness. That's where you can generate the outside of your body, looking at yourself in third person. That's where you can generate your own ovation, because you can understand. That's where you can generate your overview. That's where you can generate your alignment. You cannot generate your alignment in the past or the future. Remain still right now. Just that's all. Take deep breaths. Concentrate on your breathing. Be thankful that you can breathe. Be thankful that you're here, being able to talk. Be thankful that you were the first sperm that reached that egg so that you can be right here with all these people. You were born a winner. Don't let this one part of a numbness stop that. You were a winner from the beginning. Don't end the race because you're living here where there's no power. You got this. And you're from New Zealand. There's something to do with water people. And loving kindness to yourself first and foremost. Be kind to yourself. I used to play sports, and I know that, say like you get hurt, like you tweak something, but you want to go out and you want more, you want to prove more, you want to do that. In the end, you have damaged yourself more when you have to be, in that sense, a wisdom of being still and having loving kindness for yourself, not being like, oh, I need to do this for my team. You got to do it for yourself sometimes. Being selfish is what I call being selfish. It's not a sin if you do it with humility and stillness and kindness, and know that it's going to be so that you can generate a bigger compassion for yourself, so that bigger compassion will help to reconnect, so that when people and the empathy and the understanding of their emotions, they don't affect you, because you are now bigger in compassion. You got bigger, and you can only get bigger, because we are unlimited. So I hope that helped. And of course, send me a message about that lag. I'll definitely give you. I'll put my thing on here stuff. So some days you flip to I don't care anymore, all around is an illusion. But you want to know something really fun? Once you can understand the truth, base yourself in the truth, you can realize that the illusion is here for you to play in. You won't get lost in the illusion. You have the mature sense, you have the sight. It's not like you're now going to be a little kid running around and not know better that if a ball jumps in the street, you're just going to run out without looking both ways. You got the eyes, you are trusted with that. Once that happens, you realize that all creation is here for the children of God to play with. And that's why it's like that little season of disciplining yourself, and everyone else is going out and, being able to go out, and you want to go out, or everyone else is celebrating something that you have been taught as a little kid, like you cannot do just what you thought you couldn't do. Once you get matured in it, you can. It's all about your mind. If you have faith, that's why there is a division in the maturities when it comes to the power of heaven. What is right to somebody can be looked at as wrong to somebody. Say I have faith that I can eat this meat because it came from God. That's just what it is. So I can eat it. But there's somebody who has a faith that says that all creation and life is from God. So to eat meat is a sin. Yeah. So they only eat vegetables. Yeah. Aren't both of them the same type of passion in their faith, their thinking? But one's faith allows him to do this, and another one's faith allows him to do this. Yeah. But you have to then think about when that one, because what it is, yeah, they're both right. See that whole right thing, yeah? What you have to think about from this is which one of these people is going to not, or which one of these people are going to be the bigger person and not break their faith, but sacrifice themselves so the other one is not shaken in their faith. And the one who sacrifices, the one who bows, the one who looks like it's the one who submitted, that's the king. That's how this works. Some days I put so the zeal is like the energy that gave the Fantastic Four their superpowers in the cosmics. Yeah, kind of like it changes, transforms. Zeal is okay. So love is a force. It's a everlasting, but it's a omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent, omnidimensional, omnipsychological force that can that transcends everything, yeah, and it can transform an eternal capability into an eternal capacity. Yeah. That makes sense. That transformation for love to work in you is when that force of love hits the right energy or that correct zeal. That transformation can happen. Yeah. Zeal itself can transform regular energy into the capability so that love can transform it into that everlasting capacity as well. See, like zeal comes from God through the likeness, where energy comes from God through creation. Yeah. So one comes from creation, one comes through likeness. There's a difference between the creation and the likeness. Yeah. Yeah. But yes, that's what it is. I actually wanted to ask Tommy, how were you outside during the last eclipse? I remember there was an energy. Or who was anybody outside during the last eclipse? I was, okay? And I'll tell you the truth, okay? So I was out there here in Houston, and it started raining. I didn't see the eclipse because I didn't have the right tools or whatever, and I don't even know if you will be able to see it. You could see it here in Houston because I had a smart device that would show you the whole thing in lifetime, yeah, when it was over Houston. But however, it started raining over me, and there was no clouds, right? And it was trippy. I was tripping out a little bit because I was like, whoa. And it, I don't know if anyone can relate with this, but have you ever seen rain coming out of the sky without any clouds? Okay, and just sunshine like that. You could see it. It looks like diamonds falling down from the sky, where I could see it coming down, and I started catching them in my mouth from far up, like, and it looked like a whole bunch of diamonds falling on me, and I don't know where it came from. And that was during the eclipse, and water's a conduit. And yeah, so if you were like that Fantastic Four thing, the thing is, it's possible, yeah. And like things happened, all water comes from heaven, you guys. That's why we're made for water, but not all water, yeah. And the spirit works in three parts: water, blood, and fire. On and off these shifts. what happened to me when I was playing Tekken the other night. I don't think I'll be playing it anymore. Sorry, Rory. Reef. Tekken got you. I hope you're okay now. It seems like I had more capacity for okay. Grace equals Nirvana. Yeah, that could happen. Nirvana. Yeah. It has actually okay. So Grace, Nirvana. What was it? There's a. I was taught a tongue. So tongues are the language of the angels, right? And it was Nerva. It's like Nirvana, but it's nerve awe. And what happens is that's when your nervous system it is awestruck. This is when you have become your brain changes, your whole entire nervous system, root system changes, your electrical compulsions changes, your senses are heightened, and you have that everlasting capacity for the everlasting immortality, that everlasting life that can be generated if you just give life all the time. You will get life, and it will never end. Yeah, it's called nerve awe, which is a form of nirvana, and nirvana equals grace, and that grace, yeah, how it gives us that everlasting life because of the grace of God to the mercy, yeah, and all that stuff. Like it all accords. Everything that we know is God is made by our Father for us somehow or another. If you can see the way that God's hand is in everything, yeah, no matter if it's so hard to see, to constantly practice that, put your mind in it, then the Christ consciousness kind of thing. Everything is, it's called quick reversal. Yeah, it might start from here and here. This point might start from here. This point might start from here. They all end up in the same point. It's like a drain inside of a big pool with leaves. Yeah, you can unplug the drain and the leaves could be over here and not even be anywhere affected yet. Yeah, but the things closest, they're the ones that, oh wow, like they're all just going towards one hole, but eventually those leaves out here will go towards that one hole, and everything in that pool will go towards that one hole. That is how everything had worked. Yeah, and that one hole now is in you. Like you can be it. That's why it started from here, and all of creation like this, right? Now it goes like this, and this point, this unification, that drain hole, is you, the Father and the Son, the creator of everything. That whole thing comes and lives inside of you. You are the universe. It's so cool. That's why I tell people, like, the best way that I can explain how God, like people are like, you can never understand God and explain it. I'm like, well, let me try. God is so outside of imagination. Like what you think is God, it's even more than that, more than you can think. So big, the universe cannot hold it. The next universe cannot, and it's so gargantuan that it fits right here. Like, you see how that works? Like it's like what? Something that big that I can't even think can fit right here? Yeah, that's how God works. It doesn't make sense, but it's the most sensible. Rays have unks, not just some, not all. Yeah, the unks of the whole the scepter thing, right? Rays have unks. So like the sun rays come down and then it looks like those scepters, right? Those round things. Is that what you're talking about, Theodora? Oh, and then Brittany J. There are many, many layers. Somehow I keep finding meaningfulness on a deeper level, which might be something most people already know, but I'm still excited. Yes, and Brittany J, like I share complete empathy. I don't know how much more I can fall in love with this thing. Like I don't know how much more I can be in awe. Sometimes I think it might kill me. Like I'm like it's like like you I can't, it's so constant and overwhelming and gets bigger and bigger. Yeah, the more that you grow, you're able to justify bigger layers, like how you're saying, and that feeling of like that love feeling. It is a force. It is a force to be respected and longed for, and but not but humbly longed for, yeah, faithfully and respectfully desired. Like, it's never going to take hold of you and make you addicted to it. But I almost long for the next thing coming, but I almost am scared of it. Like, at the same time, it's like a excitement and it's almost like, I want to ride a roller coaster that has a really deep drop, and I know I'm gonna be safe, but like, what if this time I'm not? Like, but like, what is the thrill? Like, that feeling of like, what? Like I said, like, I keep falling in love with it more and more, that now I'm realizing that I'm not falling anymore. I'm like, I'm floating, but if I'm floating, how? Yeah, it's pretty cool. So right on, Brittany J. The levels, yeah, we are infinite dimensional beings, and dimensions is true. If you look at Egyptian, no, I missed it because in Toronto, Canada, you couldn't see it. Oh, okay, I got you. Yes, I was outside in Idaho for the eclipse. Brittany J, cool, yeah. And tell me, like, okay, so understand that just because the eclipse was here on Earth doesn't mean that there are eclipses that happen in different perspectives throughout the solar system. Yeah, we I don't know if you guys I shared this with you, but I have a video, and like, this was like a time span, right? I was made aware of this whole thing, right? The July 19th of this year to September 1st, and then July 27th being the blood moon, right? And how all the planets were going to be on one side of the sun. Yeah. We're made to always look at the universe like this, yeah, but there's no directions, yeah, and that's why I was like, look, at everything is above the sun, and there's nothing new under the sun, yeah, but this is when I started saying this, and this is before I knew any of this. I would tell people, there's nothing new under the sun, everything new is above it. Like, where did that even come from, right? And all of a sudden this happened. Like, wow, do you see that coinkadink, that synchronicity, that what? There's no way that that's just a coincidence, and there's no way that this came from my thoughts, yeah? This was given to me, and this was a time level. I'm using this is because with the eclipses, yeah, realize that there are eclipses happening all the time. And if you can understand that, and what I do know is, but justify it enough so that you can envision it, say like an eclipse that happened on Jupiter, yeah, and put yourself there, like how I was telling New Zealand that we don't time travel over here and don't travel here. Your power is here, right? That right there. Remember, she's disconnected from the head. Yeah, if you're connected from the head and you do that, that right there is that's a good time travel. And if you can do that, being imaginators and creators, yeah, see what you can do with your brain and put yourself under an eclipse. See what happens. Try it, and it'll be a good way for you to get your brain even stronger too. I do it all the time. I will jump all around the world in my head. I used to love reading National Geographics, right? And growing up, one of my foster parents, they had the Japanese older grandparents, right? They had a collection because they were hoarders, old National Geographics, and I would just spend hours watching it, right? The pictures and everything. Until this day, I can remember a lot of stuff. And once in a while, I'll just jump out of my head and go to that picture of like the lady holding her scarf like this with her eyes, and it was like a real famous picture in National Geographic, to her today, and be like, start imagining her, what she's doing. Does she have kids? She's older now. She has grandchildren. She's like running around, like, and I jump around the world. And I'm like, okay, like, oh, I wonder how that hippopotamus is doing. I saw like, like stuff like that. I wonder how that tree's doing. And I'll go all over. And who's to say I don't really go there? You know what I mean? But the thing is, if you can imagine it, yeah, if you can think of something, then you've created it somehow. It might not be materialized, such as like, oh yeah, I created this, like oh, I've thought of this lady, so like now she's here. If you can create it in your head, it's now possible. Your brain stretched. Imagination stretches the brain in a dimensional sense. Once the brain is stretched, including dimensional, it cannot go back to its original shape. It can only fill in if there's space, with detail. And then it can be stretched again. Imagination is so important, That's why. So try that. And I was gonna say, isn't there another eclipse coming where it's like supposed to cross the opposite way of the United States of America? I remember I was defending the USA when everyone's like, see, it's like a X across the United States because we're like a evil nation and all that stuff, yeah. And I'm always one to be like, well, I'm in the truth, yeah. So I was like, well, a pirate will cross out where his treasure is buried on a map. And so what they're doing is they're saying this one right here is where the treasure lies. So everything else don't care about. So that's just how I was, I don't know, bringing new thought to how people were looking at this. Because I was like, no, like it, yeah. And then of course, yeah, we made friends with Israel. And so we have a little bit of grace from God. Thank you, Jesus. If you look at Israel, okay. Yes, I was outside of Idaho. And Birdie J, guess what? So I've been to Nampa, Idaho. I was at the Olympic Development Program, soccer training program. so I like potatoes. Years ago, all animal sounds all went silent. That's crazy. What do you mean they all went silent? Like they wouldn't talk, or like when they would talk, nothing came out? Theodora. That's why all is one consciousness. Whatever you hear is or was or will be possible. Yeah, that's so true. That's why I was saying what happens outside the world in wholeness happens inside of you. And like if you notice something personally that's happening, yeah, then it's happening globally as well. What happens globally, cosmologically, is happening in you like that. And also, if you can register that in power, you can control the cosmos by controlling what happens in you. Because what happens in you, controlled, that's what you're going to see happening outside of yourself. Thought is creation. True. And then the thing is, with the mind of Jesus Christ, okay, the man who was just like us, so he shared empathy for the first time, as the plan was always, right, to even past death, past death, until this very day. He's just, that's him, his thinking was hyper spiritually dimensionalized, like it is hyper omni hyper, but controlled, a power that could have called down legions of angels, like how he said, like, don't you think I could call down whatever I wanted and I would kick all your asses? But he didn't, and he remained faithful, humble of heart, and maintained the only sacrifice that we would then have to do. He gave one life for everything, so that all of a sudden the sacrifice was life instead of staying death. He gave life to everything, including death. What happens when you give death life? So that's what, like, conquered death, like life swallowed death. How can life kill something? Like, that's why one thing that I want to ask you guys, and this might be something to ponder. If love was something like a person, and hate was something, do you think love would hate out of love? Because whenever love loved hate would be tortured, kind of thing. Would love sacrifice like that for hate? Or would it just continue loving it knowing that it tortured hate? That kind of thing. I don't know. Just something to think about. But thoughts, emotions. One thing I was gonna say too with the thinking, yeah, how Theodora was saying, repetition, and with New Zealand, I was saying you're right now you're confused, and the repetition, redefine, yeah. With my own self, what I'll do when because I'm still like everybody, I have peace. When I say I have peace that surpasses understanding, it doesn't mean like whatever you think that means in your head. If you can make a picture, it surpasses that. It's not that, yeah. It's that I will always be back to the peace. Nothing's gonna just keep me in that emotional state. I'm true to the now of how I feel. Yeah. So what? But it will always go back to think. It's almost like water that gets slapped. Yeah, it's like all splashed and it's nothing. But I will always go back to that stillness, no matter what. It's always going to be there. Yeah. So it's not like, oh, I'm always like in the face of something. I'm just like, oh no, I'm at peace. Not at all. Like if something's doing something, I'm going to react like, and it's not going to be peaceful. But my emotions will always be in stillness of that water. Yeah, even though I'm splashing around. But anyway, repetition, mantra is a really thing. And with my own thing, I'll be like this. I'll be like, to encourage myself, I'll be like, I am a child of God. I am a child of God. And remind, remember, repeat, remind, remember, repeat. Yeah. I am loved. I am loved. I am loved. I am loved. I am strong. I am strong. I am here. I am here. I am now. I am now. I am happy. Yeah. Then, in this sense, what's it called? Act out it. What's it called? When mimic what it is to be happy. You know what it is in your head that you are happy. Yeah. Smile. It generates your brain to trigger what happens when you smile. It produces endorphins just by faking it. But in my video, what I say is you don't fake it till you make it, because if it started off fake, it will end in false. Yeah. On that same level, because it's right, but it's not righteous. Yeah. There's a higher dimension of thinking, but using that same concept is be willing. You're working on your willingness, the power of your will. Yeah. So you're not faking it till you're making it. You are willingly doing it. And the more willing you can do it, you started off in truth. So if you hit that, you are in truth. And if you don't hit it, the truth is you weren't willing enough. See, it all lands on you. It's your responsibility. It's not, oh, I didn't fake it enough. Yeah. So with that, or be willing, yeah, to remind yourself to repeat things of redefining the way of thinking of yourself. Instead of being like, oh, I'm so numb, what I'm going to do? Just how can you put that silver lining back on, kind of thing. Yeah. Instead of looking at a problem, yeah, be solution oriented, and that solution is what it's going to cause solvency. It will dissolve that rock, yeah, into water. And what water does, will find any opening in anything, and with time and patience, it will take down a mountain. It will, with time and patience, water will take out continents. Think about it. Yeah. If you're water, even in a situation of anybody coming at you in argument and stuff like that, causing conflict, if you can imagine yourself as water in the conflict and repeat in your mind while there might be causing conflict, love, 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 and that you're water, watch yourself just, you're all over them. You're in every single nook and cranny. You're not part of their problem. You are their solution. Yeah. You'll see things just like dissolve in front of you. It is amazing how powerful we are without the Holy Spirit. Now, can you imagine awakening the zeal of the Holy Spirit in you for everlasting, an everlasting perfection? I don't even know. Like, it's past imagination. And but in the now, I am living, thriving proof of this. Like I tell people, like, it's not the faith that you know. To me, it's been infacted. It's infactual. It's not like, oh, I don't just trust anything. Yeah, I don't just like, but I do know that I only follow the best. You know, and because we're champions, you know, we're more than conquerors. That's crazy. All animal sounds went all silent. Speaking of animal sounds, I do about the concept of time and everything repeating. Yeah, nothing new under the sun. I'm waiting for the day that Balaam's talking donkey comes back. So like, I don't know, keep in mind of that. Whenever you'll see it probably on top of the YouTubes and probably on the news, like, oh my gosh, like this guy's cow just turned around and started talking to him in Cantonese. Like, what? I'm like, oh, see, it looked back around. We're at this time in what has been repeated as the histories, yeah? Like, but it would probably be different. It might be like a talking rock or something, or a talking tree, or I don't know, something like that. There might be a little difference instead of just like an animal, but something's going to be talking that's not supposed to be talking. All what you think of. Total silence, not even wind, crickets, all shut down. That's crazy. But what was it? It was, I was on a hill, just a few hundred people. Silence. Yeah. But okay, so in that total silence, but was there a pressure? Like, could you feel pressure on top of your senses? Have you ever been in a soundproof room? One of those soundproof rooms they have built? When you're like that, yeah, like people can go crazy because there's a pressure that happens with lack of silence. Like silence is here to help with gravity or something, yeah? With total silence, it's only because we can't hear what's really the sound that's really there. But yes, I love silence. What I tell people is like there's notes, yeah, and there's silence between the notes. And going to the zoo now. Awesome. Enjoy the zoo, Teodora, and with your child, and enjoy. See if any of the animals talk. And we'll talk later too. So thank you. Have a lovely day. And you guys, okay, so it's 5:15 in the morning here, so I gotta go. I'm gonna get off here. I'm gonna put my link. Yeah, but thank you guys, and I hope that we're strong together. Yeah, alone there is a strength that can be with you, and you can be as strong as your faith is in the Lord. Yeah, but together is when there's encouragement and inspiration. We are there communicating, and that's where strength truly lies here with us. Yeah, and we can change the world. We can bring heaven to earth. We are heaven already. We can bring the kingdom down for everybody. Yeah, not just the people that we think, oh, they deserve it. Everybody, because none of us deserve it. Yeah, and I know that we can change. We are it. We are the changers. We are the generators of change, the cuspians. We can do this. And like I said, inch by inch, anything's a cinch, but by the yard it's hard. And so we got this, yeah? Hell yeah, Rory. And I'm sorry that Tekken got you. But I'm going to put my thing on here, and you can, if you want to, explain it to me. I'd love to see what happened, because I do believe in the ghost in the shell, yeah? So y'all take care, and keep this in mind today, I guess. The noble man makes noble plans, and by noble deeds he stands. Go out that. Take that with you into the world, and then let your light shine, okay? Y'all be safe out there. Bye. Aloha.